Welcome to the Boys Crypto Show. Thank you, everybody, for bearing with me on this slight time change. I got some things I got to attend to this afternoon, and by that, I mean we're going to the farmer's market, and we're going to get some fresh produce, baby. Some fresh produce. I'm a little out of breath. We just got done with the workout. But yeah, some fresh produce. Hey, we got to go and get it, right? We're a little low in the fridge, so we got to go and get after it. So I'm giving you guys a fresh market update real early in the day. Bear with me with the time change, everybody. It's the weekend. Kind of going to be a little more flexible here, but here we are. And hey, it has been a wild weekend. I don't know if you guys could hear me in the mic. I also just came up a flight of steps, and I don't know if you guys know, but the bigger people, I know, for those of you guys who weigh over 200 pounds, you guys know what I mean, but when you climb up a flight of steps, you're out of breath for the next 10 minutes. It's crazy, even if that's one flight of steps. Wild. All right. We're going to dive on into Bitcoin. We're going to dive on into the top projects here. And for anybody who wants to shoot in a request, we're going to try and hit as many as we can. Thank you for being here in the chat early, April. It's always a pleasure having you here. Thank you. All right, here we go. Let's talk about Bitcoin and the pattern that we posted on X a little earlier. This is forming out to be, in my opinion, a beautiful Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve's a sharp. This is a double bottom pattern, a sharp downtrend followed by a sharp uptrend followed by a rounded bottom. Looks very good. These are one of the most reliable patterns in crypto here. And, you know, over the course of the next couple of hours, I see Bitcoin potentially breaking out of this Adam and Eve from where we are, about another 1.3% to the upside to about 104.5. That would feel very good. And over the course of the weekend, we've had some major choppy price action that has wreaked havoc, absolute havoc on the altcoins. And I'll dive into what I mean here as Bitcoin dominance is kind of shooting to the upside very unexpectedly, right? After we started playing 200 MA dominoes to the downside, the 8-hour 200 MA caught Bitcoin dominance, and now we're reversing, playing 200 MA dominoes to the upside. So I'm going to show you guys where I think Bitcoin dominance is likely to turn around. I still think altcoin season looms here. I think there's proof in the pudding, I believe, as the saying goes, that the altcoin bulls need to see before full porting into altcoins, in my opinion. And do I think Bitcoin's going to go down from here? Absolutely not. In order for the altcoins to do well, Bitcoin's going to have to eventually get out of here and go and test the highs. It's testing the 1-hour 200 SMA right now, and over the course of this evening, I do project this Adam and Eve pattern playing out to the upside. And of course, anything can happen. It is the weekend. We are facing low volatility, right? Low volatility meaning market makers are not in the game. There's not a lot of big institutions beefing up the price of Bitcoin, but with that being said, they're also not selling on us either. So all the action that you see today is likely due to either retail or Binance through Wintermute, the world's most horrible exchange, but mostly retail. Very interesting here for Bitcoin. On the 15-minute time frame, you can see that. On the hour time frame, you can see that as well. On the 5-minute, everything kind of lines up with this beautiful Adam and Eve that we're seeing here on the charts. I see the altcoins getting a little bit of love in the past hour or so, up about 1%, which is really nothing in comparison to the day here, to the day. Massive blood in the streets for the altcoins over the past 24 hours. Pi Network continues to get decimated, and I'm telling, this is down 66% from May 12th, and we talked about it here at the highs, and we're saying, hey, there's something fishy about this coin. I don't know what it is, but I'm gonna find out, baby. I'm doing a little bit of research, deep diving. Only about 6 to 7% of the supply, I think it's 7% of the supply is out right now for Pi Network. I just have the heebie-jeebies, and it's crazy. It's a coin that is doing some massive damage, falling off here down to 28. This was once the number 11th ranked cryptocurrency at 4.9, but 7 billion Pi out of 100 billion Pi are available for like in circulation. So I really do. Where's that other 93% of the supply, whether it's in unlocks or not, or through mining? If it's through mining, there's no, to me, I don't see any reason for this price to appreciate when only 7% of the supply is out. And if it's done by public mining, that means everybody has equal share in it. It just gives me the heebie-jeebies, man. Gives me the heebie-jeebies. All right, if you guys want to dive on over, it's going to be first come, first serve for your hottest coins in the game, for your altcoins. Drop those coins in the chat if you guys are interested in going over anything. But right now, I'm going to hit on Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, and our current leverage trade, SUI. We're going to give an update on that. So Bitcoin looking really, really good here on the 5-minute out of this Adam and Eve pattern. We are getting a little overbought on the RSI, but the higher time frames say, hey, baby, we are ready to go. The 3-hour is reset. The 4-hour is reset. And the daily, most importantly, is sitting at this fair value 50 line. This flag is still in play here for BTC on the daily. The 21 creeping up in the price action. This looks very, very beautiful for continuation to the upside for Bitcoin. And this could be just the beginning of something much, much greater for the Bitcoin price to break out of this flag on the daily. And the breakouts, these polls, this says it will, once we break this trend line right here, once we break this trend line, you know, at about 104,000, we're closing a daily candle above there. It's really saying that, you know, Bitcoin could be at $115,000 in 3 days. That's not me saying that. That's the measured move of this flag. The flagpole says we could reach $115,000 in 3 days. That would coincide very, very well with the mass FOMO that I project will flood into Bitcoin. Once we come back and crank in the highs, we are testing it right now. In my opinion, look at this. We're right at the high volume node, the point of control of this upper bound range, which is relatively new, right? We haven't traded up in this range, but for less than 14 days worth of time. So in my opinion, right now, as we speak, we're testing the highs. There's not a lot of price data or history that matches Bitcoin up here. Just because we've pumped above the point of control, the high volume node had a monumental daily candle. Are we going to come back? I don't know if we will. I've seen a lot of stuff on YouTube today. My favorite thing on YouTube is when people go and say, oh, it could go up, it could go down, but no matter what happens, I'm going to be right because I'm going to have said it. Yeah, well, that's not what we're going to say here on this channel. Absolutely not. I'm going to tell you guys if I'm wrong. I am a money where my mouth is on this SUI trade, right? And it's currently down a little bit right now. It is what it is, but you know, a low leverage, long swing play. That's what I'm playing on SUI right now. I think Bitcoin's going to go and test the highs sooner rather than later. Of course, we get some choppy price action in here. I do not want to see us fall beneath the point of control at $96,000. And honestly, you know, could we come back here and test this? Yeah, absolutely. But I think the bull market's on. Like, for those of the people who are saying, oh, this is the bear market, this could be the double top. The bears had the opportunity to take us down with this M pattern right here. They did. And the bulls were able to reclaim some key areas. Not just any areas, right? We reclaimed the point of control, this previous support resistance flip right here. We reclaimed some key areas, and we have massive support sitting underneath us with that golden cross on the daily, the 21 cross, and the 200. Coming up in the price action out of this bull flag on the daily, to me, we're going to test the highs, baby. We're going to test the highs, and we're going to test the highs soon. I would project that this flag would finish by the end of this week, this upcoming week. I'll be bold in saying this. And I don't think any other crypto YouTuber is going to say it, right? And I'll tell you guys if I'm wrong. I'll be like, man, I thought we were going to see the highs this week. I was wrong. I think we will see the all-time high tested, or at least 106,500, the top of this candle right here, 106,285, this level tested on the charts this week. I think that is very, very likely, very, very probable based on current price action. And I think when it happens, it's going to happen fast. It could happen tonight when everybody's sleeping, when everybody least expects it. Nobody positioned really well for this move. I think Bitcoin's likely gearing up for an all-time high break. And I know we've been pumping. For sure about a month straight right now off the lows down here at 74,000. But, you know, I really think that once this thing cracks, the momentum behind Bitcoin, once it cracks out of those previous highs, just gets so severe. You could argue it was the same way here. We fell from September 8th all the way to November 1st. We were pumping, and then what happened? We pumped way harder after that. You know, we cracked those previous highs, and we never looked back. We filled the gap here. Maybe the wick on Binance, we did not fill it, but, you know, I think this is the beginning of a bigger move to the upside for Bitcoin. And when the blue skies breakout happen, you guys are gonna love it, man. It's gonna be so cool. We're gonna be on the 1 minute time frame. I'll go live whenever we crack the high for BTC, even if it's in the middle of the night. I got my alert set. I'll hop off wherever it's at, 2 a.m., 3 a.m. in the morning. It is what it is. And we're going to be scalping that puppy on the 1 minute flag, 1 minute flag, 1 minute flag, 1 minute. It's going to be insane. And that's how those all-time high blue skies breakouts do work. That's what I see for Bitcoin coming. And it looks very, very likely. And even just here today, you know, with this Adam and Eve, it looks so beautiful for continuation to the upside. I'm not saying we're going to break out of this tonight, but I do see the top of the range being tested out of this Adam and Eve. Looks absolutely beautiful to me. And I think that's my projection as we go on in to Sunday. I think Sunday is going to be a bullish day for the markets. Of course, I could be wrong, but I think after the sell-off that we had, if people aren't loading up on these assets right now, you know, they may miss out on the all-time high breakout. And I really think that this is the time that if people aren't investing into altcoins, getting in on these discounts, whenever people were wishing they were getting in on Ethereum at the lows, you know, and Bitcoin at the lows and Sui at the lows, like how much more of a discount can you want after a massive pump like that? And you could be waiting like even on Ethereum here, you could be waiting for a fib retrace, and that's very valid from a trader's perspective. But after this massive sell-off, the short liquidity to the upside is insane. I don't think we're going to get these deep retraces because it gives one of two things. It gives all those short leverage traders, you know, the ability to get out of the markets in massive profits down here at the 1.618. And if we came down here, a lot of people are tracking these levels for a reversal to the upside. Why would anybody sell in this region right here? It doesn't make much sense to me from a buyer's perspective. If you caught the bottom and you're trying to take a long swing position, really doesn't make much sense to me. But, you know, hey, the markets can do whatever they want here on the weekend. I really doubt, and I get we're playing 200 MA dominoes to the downside here, even for Ethereum. But, you know, shoulder, head, right shoulder, I do acknowledge that. I just see relative strength in the market here when it comes to Bitcoin. And if Bitcoin goes to test the highs, I really do see dominance starting to roll over. Ethereum does look a little weaker right now as we speak. But, you know, we're testing that daily 200 SMA. We may just be flagging here, just like Bitcoin. The flag will likely look different, and Bitcoin dominance is struggling a little bit right now. But that's okay. These bigger moves that come out of the daily time frame are monstrous. For Ethereum, that was a 41% pump. Even if you dump 10, 20%, you could get this move out of the flag to the upside, and you're going to be looking at over a $3,000 Ethereum, a $3,500 Ethereum, and then everybody's going to be talking about, man, Ethereum's coming for the highs. I knew it. It definitely, no one was saying that down here. There was very, very few people being bullish on Ethereum down here, including myself. I'm not bullish on Ethereum. Okay, I'm bullish on Ethereum right now based off of the pattern that it's forming. I think this bull flag could play out once we get above the daily 200 SMA. I'm going to be bullish for Ethereum, but I really don't think it's going to be the market leader over the course of this altcoin season. It has it throughout history, but history tends to change. And with some of the stronger altcoins in the game, Sol, Sui, like some of those bigger, you know, you could argue XRP, Cardano, a lot of the coins in the game that may actually start taking the reins from Ethereum on this altcoin run. A lot of money's being redistributed in the altcoins here. You can see it on the daily. Some coins are down 7%. Some coins are down 2%. Some coins are down 1%. Some coins, you know, are in the green today. So, you know, very, very few. But you can see it here on the weekly. We have a mass redistribution of money throughout this space. Some coins are down 20% while others are down 3%. So it's very, very important to understand that as your asset dumps, as we take dumps to the downside, how well is it holding up comparatively to the rest of the market? Very, very important to understand that whenever you're looking at any asset. All right, diving on in. I think you're right about Bitcoin going to reach the highs. Thank you, Wanda. I'm about to ready to buy some. I usually buy high and sell low, Wanda. No. That's not what we're looking for here. We're not looking to buy high, sell low, or do anything like that. But this Adam and Eve does look very, very good. If you're a leverage trader, Wanda, and I do happen to know that you are a legendary leverage trader. Yeah, this Adam and Eve does look very, very good. These play out 90% of the time. It is one of the most accurate patterns that I've seen throughout crypto, and this thing looks really, really juicy for a move to the upside. Stochastics are starting the curve here on the 50 for Bitcoin. And, you know, honestly, Wanda, you can never go wrong with Bitcoin. I want to take a quick peek at Bitcoin dominance here really quickly and see how we're doing. All right, so, and this is what I was talking about earlier in the stream, okay? This is what I'm talking about here on the weekly for Bitcoin dominance. So Bitcoin dominance did make a massive bearish engulfing candle here on the weekly. The bulls did step in for the alts, but for the last 4 days, Bitcoin dominance is taking a massive amount back, about 2.77%. For those of you who think that's a small number in terms of Bitcoin, Bitcoin stole that from the altcoins, and that is a big, big number when you're talking about an asset as giant as Bitcoin, a multi-$2 trillion asset. So what I'm looking for here, since we got this dump, right? Since we got this dump, I'm looking for the next lower high in the sequence. I really want to see a lower high in the sequence come in here. You know, we got bearish divergence here on the weekly looking absolutely beautiful. A lower high or an equal high put in on the weekly RSI indicator suggesting that we break this low before we break this high. And with that bearish engulfing candle, it gives me a lot of confidence, Wanda. It gives me a lot of confidence. And we still have a day and 3 hours to eat this back. So tomorrow can be a legendary day for the alts. And here's why I say that. Either I think this bearish divergence is going to play out to the downside, but how does that begin, right? Let's zoom on in here on the daily. How does that begin? Well, you're going to need to form a lower high somewhere. Where is that lower high likely to come in? This is the moment where I believe that massive fall off will come for Bitcoin dominance. We may pump another day and then get that massive rejection. That's what I'm looking at for Bitcoin dominance to change trend, make a lower low, right? And we really, you know, on the daily, you could argue higher, low, higher, low, higher, low, high. That's a lower low. This is your lower low, and where's your next lower high likely to come in? The bulls are definitely going to try and push back up and, you know, break this high. They have to here on the weekly after a massive bearish engulfing candle. Even after this bearish engulfing candle, you know, Bitcoin dominance did struggle. After this one, Bitcoin dominance struggled and then, you know, eventually rolled over to the downside. So I'm tracking this lower high coming in, Wanda, for Bitcoin dominance. I think it is very, very likely here. This is the 4 hour, and the 4 hour 200 SMA does align with that 618. So that 4 hour 200 SMA and that 618 area looks like that 64.04 area looks like a very, very likely area that Bitcoin dominance can top out here and roll over to the downside. That's what I'm speculating from an alt season perspective. And I think the alts are going to go on an absolute massive run this week in the event Bitcoin does go and test the highs, right? When Bitcoin went and tested the highs last time, Bitcoin dominance fell like a rock. This was it right here. This was back here in November or late November, right? When we were going to test the highs, Bitcoin is rushing to test the highs here. We got that dump. Bitcoin did take a little bit back from the altcoins, but ultimately the altcoins did get that massive juicy pump with, you know, corresponding with that dump on Bitcoin dominance to the downside. Wanda wants to look at Cardano. Absolutely, Wanda. We will take a look at Cardano. Good old Charles Hopkins, baby. Good old Charles Hopkins trying to make a big game changer. I did see an update for Cardano coming up, integrating with Surge or something like that. I got to do a little more research. I'm not a huge Cardano guy. Don't know a lot about the project besides it being, you know, on a lot of people's radar. And you're coming down to a very, very juicy long zone here. And here's why I say that. Not only, right, let's see, Cardano. Let me get this out of here and we'll do this fresh. Okay, so what I'm seeing here, Wanda, this is on the daily. You have a beautiful, and this takes a long time to play out. This takes weeks, months. Shoulder, head, right shoulder, right? If this was the 1 minute time frame, you could trade all these time frames the same way, right? The same exact way. So on the daily, they just take a little longer to play out, but the moves are often a lot more violent because of the time frames that you're looking at. Shoulder, head, right shoulder. What are you looking for here now, Wanda? Well, I think a retest of this neckline is probable. You may not get that. And why do I say that? Well, you're coming down to a key fib retracement. You're coming down to you just bounced off your 618 to the dollar. We could zoom on in and see that here. We bounced off the 618 Fibonacci level, getting a little bit of reaction here on the daily. Yeah, that hour candle, that was massive. That was absolutely massive for Cardano. So that may have been the low. However, I think this is a very, very strong zone for Cardano. You're coming back to a support resistance flip, right? Resistance. Coming back down to test it as support. That does align. So you have a lot of things going for you here, Wanda. You are aligning a bunch of shields. You have so many shields to the downside. It's honestly almost ridiculous. Look at this. You have the high volume node. You have the golden pocket. the 618, the 786, and your previous support resistance flip. I know it's a little sloppy in there. If you could see it right there, let me hide the moving averages. Makes it look a little better. Yeah, maybe. But yeah, that looks absolutely gorgeous to me for a shoulder, head, right shoulder, neckline retest for the upside. The point of control getting retested would be very, very bullish here for Cardano. Putting in that higher low could be here at the 618. This could be the low. You could drop lower to the point of control, or you could get that 786, which aligns perfectly with the resistance. But in this area, that looks juicy for a long on Cardano for the reversal to the upside. I think that is very, very likely for Cardano. This is one of the assets that is being speculated upon to being added to the crypto strategic reserve. And as altcoins start to bleed, some of these things are going to become relatively undervalued comparatively to Bitcoin. And when dominance does roll off, we did see, let us not forget that, XRP, Solana, Cardano, all were tweeted by Donald Trump saying getting added to the strategic reserve. Cardano outperformed them like crazy. XRP got like a 30% pump. Solana maybe something similar. And Cardano got a 77% move in a single day. That was a wild move for Cardano. I think this asset can pump massively. Over here on CoinMarketCap, you can see that this thing's market cap isn't really all that grand. 26 billion. You're talking about 1/6 the size of XRP and 1/10 the size of Ethereum. So I think this thing could do some massive damage. I don't think it's gonna 10 or 20x. Just because of where the market cap currently sits. I mean, it could 10x. It could definitely 10x, but maybe. But you would need to get added to a strategic reserve, and the American tax-free crypto would need to be implemented into effect. Very, very interesting there for Cardano. Hey, thank you, Wanda. Yeah, I think Cardano's looking hot. I think it's coming down to a zone of heavy, heavy interest. And this area right here, this little circle that I made, has so much going for you. You have the high volume node, the area where the most amount of Cardano traded did take place. You have the 618, 786, from your previous swing low, going up to your swing high. You bounced off the 618, high volume node, 786, and previous support resistance flip. To me, nothing more than you could ask for. You crack those levels, you're going to be in trouble there for Cardano. Massive trouble, because all these things will turn from support into resistance. And to me, I wouldn't see Cardano breaking above that if you slice through it like butter. I really don't. So what's something similar to this, right? Where's the point of control come into effect? I want to show you guys XRP real quick. And, much shout out to the XRP army, all the people who own XRP, made some of the most massive gains over the past couple of months. But here we are talking about XRP, and, we closed this trade and made some juicy gains on it for XRP yesterday. But we fell beneath a key area, right? We fell beneath such a key area here on the charts. Like, the bears still have control of this point of control. When are the bulls going to have the strength to get over this level? I'm really starting to lose a lot of faith in XRP. Like, I thought that high volume node should definitely hold. And you closed not one candle beneath it, but this will be the second candle on the daily that closes beneath the high volume node. So the danger of XRP here, the only thing you have standing in your way of a cataclysmic downside meltdown for XRP is this 200 SMA, which is sitting at about 218, about, a little less than 10% below where you're at. You close beneath the daily 200 SMA. To all the XRP holders, I gotta say, danger, 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 baby. Danger. Like, this line is your hope. You have to hold this daily 200 SMA, which is going to continue to trend upwards, as the calculation starts deleting some of these candles and adding in these candles up here. So this is sloping up quite violently for a daily 200. You're beneath the point of control. This ball rolling off the hill scenario, we're rolling off this hill right now. We're rolling off a very steep hill. Your next area to come is down here at 148. Do I think that's going to happen to XRP? I don't know if we necessarily get to the next trough, right? There's a lot of institutional adoption behind this and everything, but we really haven't had any news-driven catalyst by XRP to really start moving price in the upward direction. Updates, developments. I get that the banks are testing, but where are the results? Why haven't those been published to the public? I'm starting to get a little bit of heebie-jeebiness to this. I'm not to the extent of high network, but it's giving me a little bit of concern, great concern, honestly. Like, you're being supported by the 21 right now. That's looking okay, but losing that point of control It is a stark warning to XRP holders, and you've regained it a couple times, but just by a single day and then got rejected right beneath. And I really was confident here that that was a beautiful retest, got that move to the upside, and the bulls just could not hold on. Very shocked to see that point of control failing for XRP. Danger call on XRP here. You're trading in a zone that is incredibly tight. Incredibly tight. Let's get rid of all the noise here, and let me show you guys what I'm talking about. This is your zone. This is the pattern that you're looking at here for XRP, in my opinion. In my opinion. You have a very clear resistance area. Very clear this area has been touched once, twice, not even once, twice. We could go back further, 3 times. You know, support. This is your support resistance flip. I'm gonna move this over here, make it a little cleaner. You know, this is a ascending triangle, right? And these do often break out to the upside. However, if you lose that daily 200 SMA and you start cracking beneath this, the measured move for the target brings you all the way down here to yes, $1.46. This would be disastrous. And with the amount of retail that is in this space, that is, shout out to XRP Army. I know you guys have made some massive gains. This thing isn't going to 100. This thing isn't going to 10,000. Just like Bitcoin's not going to 10 million this cycle. It's not going to happen. There's not enough money in the space. Regardless of institutional adoption, right? You could argue that if the institutions are in, they're already in. Are they not? What drove this massive move? What injected billions, hundreds of billions of dollars into this asset? Just the downside risk is so high being underneath this point of control. Just caution to XRP holders. You do have support underneath you, right? You get that bounce here. You get that bounce. That's what you want to see and go and break out of this. But that point of control is going to be resistance until proven otherwise for XRP and the XRP Army. Shout out to you guys making some of the hottest gains in the space over the last couple of months. I just want to put that caution on there. If XRP can break out to the upside, this would be a massive ball rolling off the hill scenario. You come down to that next trough sits up there at about 313, and this could have just been a leverage swipe. This just could have been a, oh my gosh, that nap. This could have been a leverage swipe right here. But yeah, I gotta remain bearish on XRP here until we can get above that high volume node. It's just my opinions on the market, everybody. You got to put that out there. All right, Wanda wants to talk about SUI. Yeah, let's dive on into SUI. So SUI, our leverage trade, we got in about 390, underwater on the trade right now. Not necessarily looking horrible, but not looking good either. Right now, a bullish engulfing candle on the 4-hour time frame. That's looking okay. And I see this downward sloping resistance right here. Downward sloping resistance that has held us down once, twice, 3 times, 4, 5. This will be the 6th time if this does hold us to the downside. And we're getting pretty close here for, to me, a big move for SUI. SUI has to move here, right? Off of this, you have the 4-hour time frame making higher low, higher low, higher low here, and that is true, right? Ever since we bottomed out here at about 364, the bulls have stepped in, currently peaking above resistance. We do have some time before this 4-hour candle does close, being held down by the 21. That's not what I like to see. There are high volume nodes above us saying that people want to sell this asset at about 391, right? That's where the Bears won out last time. If the bulls can retake control, that would be amazing here for SUI. What I do like for SUI is the daily stochastic is completely reset, and we're forming a hidden bullish divergence. We did have bearish divergence, and we still do have bearish divergence that is in effect. You made higher highs here while you're making equal highs here on the RSI. But this did give a beautiful, beautiful lead into a hidden bullish divergence. So that bearish divergence doesn't have as much validity to me right now. The higher low here that was formed, the higher low that was formed here as we made you made a higher low, higher high, higher low. If this is the next higher low, and it very well could be, this swing down on price action suggests, hey, this high is likely to be cracked before this low, and that's on the daily time frame. I think that is very, very likely. The point of control of this range sits beneath us at about 360, just about where we wicked to. We didn't even get to the point of control. So I think SUI's going to do some massive damage over the run, being supported once and twice by the daily 21 simple moving average. Looks very, very good moving with price action. The 21 simple moving average loves to move with price action, right? Just over the course of the bull, look at the 21 support, right? All the way up through this monumental tear, right? We got a little far from it. We came back to the 21. That's Sam Price's teaching, the crypto lifer, man. Shout out to him. Sam Price is an absolutely legendary trader. The 21 moving average, he did teach me this with the Lifer group in the 99. The 21 moving average is your friend, right? You support. It just moves with price action so beautifully. We break beneath the 21, resistance. That 21 is so key to me, in my opinion. And we're being supported by it right now, and we have hidden bullish divergence, in my opinion. Tsui, nothing to worry about, right? Nothing to worry about. This is a swing leverage long position. It gets cut off at about 350 or so, right? We do have that play posted on X. Hidden bullish divergence. I think this thing's going to do some massive damage over the course of the run. Bitcoin gets to pop here tonight. I think that we could do some massive numbers here for Tsui. I'd love to see this 15-minute 200 MA break and go hard to the upside. It can happen. It can happen very, very quickly for this asset. And notice it over here on Bubbles. Something I did want to point into as well. Notice over the course of the last week, a lot of assets are down. You know, this is what I was talking about. 18%, 15%, 20%, 17, 16, 10. Sui's only down about 5.5%. So it's only taken about half of the dump comparatively to Ondo, 1/3, Virtuals, 1/4 of the dump a lot of other assets have here. And that gives me a lot of hope that, hey, people aren't, I don't want to say hopium, but people aren't selling this off as much as the rest of the alts. So when money comes piling back into this space, they're likely to jump on the fastest horse, and Sui's positioned for that move back to the upside, in my opinion, with that hidden bullish divergence. It looks good to me. I think Sui's going to do some massive damage, trying to crack over the 15-minute 200 MA tonight. We're playing 200 MA dominoes. We'll come up, likely to test a 1 hour, and we do have a beautiful, tweezer bottoms here. We have tweezer bottoms here on the, what time frame did I see that on? On the daily. Tweezer bottoms on the daily. When you see two candles come down here in relatively close area to each other, last time we had that was right here, tweezer bottoms, and that got the move to the upside. It looks very, very nice to me. Tweezer bottoms right here. You had tweezer bottoms, did not play out. It doesn't have to always play out down here. Let's see if we can find another example. Not on Sui here. Here's a great example. Tweezer bottoms, boom, to the upside. Tweezer bottoms. I think this is likely an area where Sui reverses and goes on a massive tear to the upside. All going to depend on Bitcoin. I'd love to see today, in the next 2 hours and 27 minutes, a daily bullish engulfing candle. That would be incredible. That would be incredible for Sui. I'm currently in the trade over there on Blowfin. Looks hot to me. I think this thing continues to the upside. It's going to take a little bit of time. This is a long-term leverage swing position here for Sui. We need to breathe. We need to take our time, and we'll dive on in. And I think this thing's going to pay massive dividends over the course of the bull run, going to 1 billion total value locked in the Sui ecosystem is huge. That's faster than any other chain that I've ever seen, in the past month. It's been insane. About 50% more Sui wallets exist this month than last month. So that is showing incredible growth in the ecosystem. So I think this thing does some massive damage to the upside. We still have not heard from the Pokemon partnership. We haven't heard from Peaky Blinders. We haven't heard from a lot of the big news events. And the CEO just coming out last week, and he said, hey, I have big news that we're about to announce in this space that's going to send Sui to massively bigger audiences, and we haven't heard that yet. So I think once we get that news, maybe a news-driven catalyst, we could get a massive move to the upside for Sui. I think this thing's a $15, $20 coin this cycle. It's my heaviest altcoin position right now in the market, and I think this thing's going to do some massive damage to the upside. Shout out to you, Wanda. Thank you for your request. Let's dive on into Render for Wanda as well. Let's dive on into it. All right, Render, my number 4 altcoin holding here. Render, baby. An AI play that has done very, very well off the lows. Very, very well off the lows. Wow, we did pretty low there today for Render. So the first thing I want to notice here, is we're making higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high. You did make a lower low there, but then you made a higher high. So market structure did not confirm a change there. And where's your next high? Woo! Got the little hiccup right there. Where's your next higher low likely to come in? From this fib retrace all the way down to your golden pocket, and you're sitting right there now, Wanda. So, when you're going based off of market structure, higher highs and higher lows are going to be your friend, and it takes SAC. It takes a giant sack to be able to take in a long or to average in at these prices, just like it did here. You cracked the prior lows, right? The prior lows took sack, but where did you come to? You likely came to a fib. Let's pull that fib from the swing low to the high. You came down into where? That golden pocket. You can see the wick came down to the golden pocket. The golden pocket Fibonacci retracement is your best friend besides the 200 dominoes game that we like to play here on the channel. A beautiful rounded bottom here for render, and this is on the daily. I love what I'm seeing here for render. You went from lower lows to lower highs. Now you shifted market structure, higher highs, higher lows. That is a beautiful rounded bottom, in my opinion, for render. This is a key area that I'm very, very interested in as well. Support, came down, support, resistance, got above, flipped support again. So the support right beneath you at about 418.3, and you're trying to get above that daily 200 SMA. What I love right here for render, where you currently sit, and this is why I think the altcoins are about to massively explode. A lot of them are sitting right here, right above high volume node, previous support resistance flips, and you have giant gaps here in the VRVP. Like, to me, there's so much short liquidity here to the upside right from the sell-off back in December and January. Like, we haven't even reclaimed all the price action from that massive liquidation event that we had back here on February 3rd. The 1st through the 3rd, that weekend was devastating, the biggest liquidation event in crypto history. And to me, ever since there, this space has not been the same. There's been a lot less people in the space that drove a lot of people away. And when you drive a lot of people away from the space, that's when they like to rip it. Giant gaps in the VRVP to support that kind of price action. There were no sellers in here for render. In my opinion, there were leverage traders on the long side getting stopped out. And since we never reclaimed these regions, and to me, all this was fear selling. So to me, you're getting into one of the hottest zones I think you could possibly be in right now for render at that $4.26, $4.56 cent level. 445, your high volume node. 420, that area of resistance. So to me, a low leverage position on render looks hot right here. It looks hot. Going to speculating on a breakup of the daily 200 SMA, you do that, you're going to be gone to about 728. From the move to 728 from here is another 50% to the upside. That is absolutely no joke for render. I think that they can do some massive damage over the course of the weekend. Over the course of this bull run. Again, this is a daily time frame. Can we see another little bit of a pullback? Yeah, absolutely. But this area is so much confluence where there's proof that there's buyers in this area. I just cannot get over that. And I get it, right? I get it. This week has been hard for crypto. A big pullback on some of the strongest assets in the game. So you got it always takes sack to buy on the red days, right? Everybody wants to buy on the green days or the green weeks, right? And then they often get wrecked the next week. And then it'll be the green week, the week following. They'll be like, why did I sell lower? It always happens in this space. And it happens with retail more so than anyone else in the game. Shout out to you, Wanda. I hope your leverage trading is going well. Thank you for being with me and supporting me on this channel. Yeah, I think we could see some man. I love how Sui's looking. I can't get over it. This thing, if you guys haven't done any research in Sui, like this ecosystem, I think is just gonna massively outperform. And yeah, we've had some big pumps already, but this to me reminds me so much of the move Solana made before it went absolutely parabolic, going from 20 all the way up to, I think we'll go from like, yeah, this is why I say 18 to 20. Solana did a 10x. We 10x from the lows. That'll be about 18, 20 bucks. Maybe 15, 20 bucks. That's why I have my bull market targets in there. About a 3x from where we currently stand. I think, no, maybe even more than that, right? Yeah, 4 to 5x. I think is on the table for Sui, but and I know what a lot of people are thinking. Oh, we want a 10x. We want to go 10. Well, then I don't think necessarily Sui may be the best play for that, just because of the market cap, right? Like anything above Sui, to me, isn't gonna 10x this side. Like there's not enough money in the system, in the ecosystem in order to do that. Could that money come in? Absolutely. Is that money gonna come in? We don't know, but what we do know is that tax-free crypto for American-made assets can definitely hit the market, and I see a lot of moves going from the stock market over into the crypto ecosystem in the event that we were to get that tax-free crypto, baby. Come on, Trump, give it to us, baby. Give it to us. We'd love to see it. In addition to that, rate cuts coming. There is about, in my opinion, to be a massive amount. Let me see here. Let me see. Do you guys still see me if I'm sitting like that? There is about to be a massive amount of money flowing on into this space with the interest rates about to be cut, in my opinion. You have the interest rates being cut. You know, partnerships being made across the globe and some of the hottest projects in the game. And I'm talking about Sui there. If you guys haven't done any research on Sui, I highly recommend. I'm not saying or advocating to buy any of it or anything, way, shape, or form. But please do your research on this asset. I think the best risk reward in the space right now is in this ecosystem. I think this thing is going to do some massive damage. And, you know, we're going to remember this thing. We're going to remember this thing at the end of the bull run. I can't wait to be here with you guys. You see a lot of bullish price targets like 40, 30, 40 bucks. I really don't see it getting there. No coin's ever done that. Like to get to 30, 40, no coin's ever got to like an $80 billion market cap in the first run. Now, could it? Yeah, sure, absolutely. But I think the likelihood is relatively low. I'll still hold a spot moon bag for sure. But, you know, by the time we get to 12, 15, $12, I'll start averaging out. 15, I'll be mostly out. 20, I'll be even more mostly out. And I'll leave a small moon bag. And most of that money will have already been rotated back into Bitcoin. That'll be enough risk on for me. Because what would be the odds of it tripling from there? Like, yeah, nah, it just not in line with my risk appetite. And I think a lot of these alts are going to massively suffer during the bear market. I'd rather be in Bitcoin during the bear market than the alts. And I think a lot of you would agree with me. All right. Yeah, Sui looks so good. Oh, so good to me. I don't know. Hopefully reversing throughout the course of the night. A nice little double bottom there. Adam and Evie a little bit. That Eve didn't even come back down very, very far on the 5 minute. Looking a little stronger than Bitcoin right here. I got to look at dominance. I got to look at Sui dominance. So Sui dominance absolutely skyrocketing. Let's zoom on out here and I'll show you guys what I'm looking at. All right. So we did get, this was something that I drew out earlier. Why is my VRVP looking like that? That's atrocious. That's atrocious. Can't look at it like that. 244. Come on. What are we doing? I'm going to hide that. I can't look at that. That'll hurt my autism. All right. So sitting at about 4.4%. And I think this thing could get to 2-3% market cap dominance over the course of the run. If we zoom on out here, you guys could see, and we got the inverse shoulder, head right shoulder. And in here, from the lows, right, from the low of this pattern, we did get from the low right here to the high, we did get we didn't really get, I drew this a couple days ago, but we didn't really get a Fibonacci respect that I wanted to. We dipped below the 886, a little bit of a liquidity grab right there. Interesting. But yeah, we're at the bottom. We're at the bottom of this flag, right? We're at the bottom of this the dominance flag. Look how massive this thing is. This thing is a beast. Inverted shoulder, head, right shoulder, potentially rearing its head off the bottom right here. I love the way this thing looks. This looks to take Sui up to about a 0.6% market cap dominance, suggesting to me that, Sui's going to have another 50% in terms of dominance on the market in the next, you could say, this is a 4-hour chart, right? Like this thing could do some massive... I just can't stop staring at it, man. It says it could happen in the next 8 days, a 50% pump for, Sui dominance out of that inverted shoulder, head right shoulder. It just looks so good. It looks so good. I want to keep that on everybody's radar. I think more like a 2-week target. That's where I'll put it. But, man, this thing looks juicy for a move to the upside. All right. Shout out to everybody who hung out with me today. This is just a quick market update stream. I'm going to be heading out to the farmer's market here soon. Much love to everybody. Thank you for joining me. For all of you guys who normally join me at the normal time, we'll be back at it just like normal tomorrow night. And we got a week coming up, baby. We got a week coming up. Be careful trading. It's be careful trading. I got to say that on the weekend. It's be careful trading. Keep up to date with me here on my X, baby. On my X. I posted that I was going live here. I guess a lot of people didn't see it. I posted the Adam and Eve for Bitcoin and just all my thoughts and ideas on the market as the days go by, baby. So I think this thing, I think Sui's going to do some massive damage. I think a lot of the alts are about to rebound from where we currently stand. I want to take another look. Bitcoin dominance already starting to roll out of that 4-hour time frame right here, getting a bearish engulfing candle as we speak. Could that be, the rollover point? Is this a flag right here on the 4-hour? you know, you got to think about it that way too. Is this the first flag? Right? Is this the first flag on the 4-hour time frame that takes us lower? It definitely could be. And I think as we come out to the 618, I think the more likely scenario is that we come out to the 618, but we got a 0.5 fib rejection there. I don't see that being an area that gets respected a large majority of the time, but it has in the past, right? This, you know, and Bitcoin dominance is a chart that kind of just shows a little more strength than, you know, than a lot of the other, you know, coins that we look at and everything. And when this thing tops out, you know, you can see 0.3, you know, the 382 and the 0.5 get respected before dumping out of these flags. So I think that's very, very likely for Bitcoin. And think about, I want you to think about this. Remember the move that your altcoin made, right? From back here, whatever coin that you're in, from the 7th to the 13th of May, right? Remember the last 2 weeks, the month, right? The month, we got to remember that this month, look at these bubbles here. A drop like that out of a flag that's shaped up like that for Bitcoin will lead to massive, these will be a lot bigger than they currently stand. I'll tell you that. The week will turn green in the blink of an eye. Bitcoin goes up and tests the highs. You will see some massive pumpage on the altcoins, in my opinion. Much love to everybody. Thank you for hanging out here on this quick market update here on the weekend. I will see you guys tomorrow night, normal time, 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, 5 p.m. Central. Much love to everybody. Thank you for being here. Until then, until next time, a boy's crypto is out. Message me on X if you got any questions, guys. I'll have my phone with me tonight, and I will be tracking price action, baby. I'll be tracking price action. Thank you for being here. Much love, and enjoy the rest of your weekend.